Hi. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have another exciting episode of From the Rail with Scott and David, and we have a very special guest today. His name is Mike Lawton. He's a retired Nevada Gaming Control Board Senior Economic Research Analyst. He's newly retired, only left in 2025, so this is an active participant in the gaming world, and let me tell you, he has a very long career, very established career. He's worked with Scott. He started in the early 90s. He opened Bellagio. But all right, how about this? Mike, why don't you tell everybody, gives everybody a sense of how big you are, sir?
Excel, huge.
That's a loaded question, man. That's a loaded question.
Not in a literal sense, in a figurative sense.
I don't know that I'm that big of a deal. I left the Bellagio in 2000 to start a career with the Nevada Gaming Control Board. Started doing some audits for some smaller casinos in the state, and then ended up getting into my position that I had for the last 15 years, which was, covering gaming revenue and statistics for the state of Nevada, developing forecasts for the legislature in terms of tax collections. So, it was an exciting ride. Lots of ups and downs, and was able to work with and meet with some great people. And I really think that my background in gaming that I had with Scott, at the Mirage and the Bellagio, really having that understanding of gaming operations was really what helped me excel in my role with the board. There was just a lot of interaction with casinos that I understood the lingo. I understood how the casinos operated and worked, and that translated really well into be able to discuss gaming win, gaming statistics, and then eventually, forecast those numbers for the legislature for the state of Nevada.
Yeah, that's a big job, though. I know the Gaming Control Board here in this state is a very well-respected gaming board that has since become parts of lots of other gaming boards. So, yeah. Lots of props there. I know that a very humble guy, that's great, but that's a big job that you had. I went to Louisiana.
David, why don't you ask Mike what was his break-in dealing job?
Okay, what was your break-in dealing job, sir?
At the Mirage. The Mirage Baccarat room.
Okay, I almost threw out some profanity. I was not that lucky. Really? You broke in at the Mirage Baccarat room? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
I looked over, I said, who's this guy? Who's this guy? I said, come here, man.
K1.
Watch out for this one, and watch that one.
Where did you break in, Scott?
Atlantic
City. But where in Atlantic City? You dealt $25
Bally's
games,
Atlantic
right,
City.
When you started.
Yeah, man. You
didn't see the bird game like me.
We didn't have a bird game, but man, we had a $2 table, and it was
busy.
Yeah.
No, Atlantic City is famous, by the way. Craps dealers today have no idea of how big that Atlantic City action was. Like they just have no concept. It's nothing like that anymore. Those types of games.
When I left, full contact gaming. Yeah, you got to buckle up, David.
Yeah.
When I left Bally's in 1981, 25 crap tables, 25 sticks in the air, dude. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
now maybe there's 3.
Yeah, and the level of action they get, it's just so different. As a bird game dealer, I was bent over all day, 8 hours, 25-cent table, Golden Gate, Gold Coast. I dealt my first 3 or 4 years with literally nothing but birds, but made me a good dealer, right? And the Rio had a lot of, at its peak when I was at the Rio, that was one of the biggest and most prolific, I would say, craps floors outside of maybe the Horseshoe, that kind of thing. All right. We got a show today, and I will say Mike is probably almost the best guest we could have gotten for this show, because he will add a lot of insight that even people that have been active in this community just don't have, right? So we're going to talk about a few things. I'm going to highlight them now, and then I'm going to kind of turn them over, and we're going to roll them out. But first, we're going to talk about the New York casinos. That's a big deal. Lots been going on. It's sort of the battle of the rappers for those of you who have been following on the social media side, but there's obviously a lot of regulatory things in play. We want to talk about that. Those will be coming online here fairly soon. Then we're going to go into iGaming versus the world. That's another big topic. As many of you know, you've been following the stories with regards to online casinos, online gambling, and of course, does it present a threat to Las Vegas, to brick-and-mortar casinos? Obviously, we've all been dealers. We've all played a role in the brick-and-mortar experience, so we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to get to the poly market, which is making its rounds lately. If you haven't been, if you've been following the whole Venezuela raid, invasion, not sure exactly what happened.
It was an arrest. It was an arrest.
That's right. It was an extraction. A very strategic. So we're going to talk about the poly market, and this event is going to help us or inform us on kind of what's going on. It's otherwise known as the prediction markets. And then at the end, we're going to talk about, each of us are going to run down a list of the things that we're looking forward to, maybe the hits and misses in the past year, what's coming ahead of us. And that's good. And then David will find a good Keno machine to hang out at. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's talk about New York. And I guess let me let you guys, Scott, how about you take the lead on New York, sir? Tell us about New York.
New York was fascinating. It was hot and heavy for a while, but then a lot of key players, especially MGM, they withdrew their application. So it wound up being the three guys left with Resorts World, Hard Rock, and Bally's. Those three operators, all three, of course, got approved. They paid their $500 million buy-in. That's a strong buy-in. That's bigger than your big birds, man. So yeah. $500 million buy-in, really strong. I really think that Resorts World has a big edge being first to market. I've seen in different jurisdictions, especially in Macau, how important it is to be first, Dave. I mean, it's being first is big. And I think by before the start of Q2 this year, they'll have table games up and running. And that's going to be a big deal. Then I really think once the smoke clears, my crystal ball says about 3-4 years from now, watch out for the Hard Rock and what they're doing by Citi Field. I think the cream's going to rise to the top. And I think with Mr. Cohen's big bankroll, that and they access the Citi Field, all that infrastructure that's already in place to be able to get large amount of folks, players, right into that complex. I think it's going to be big. Bally's, congratulations. I'm just a little worried about Bally's on the just the balance sheet side, but Mike could talk to that a lot better than I can.
So here, hold on one second, Mike. What I want to do is very quickly, I want to highlight for everybody out there who is kind of just, starting with us right now. But so New York put out these licenses, made available a couple licenses that, a lot of the big gaming companies have been bidding on, and also so groups have come together. So, and a lot of these groups have been highlighted by rappers. So, if you've been following this, there was Caesar's Palace with Jay-Z and Rock Nation. They got together. They were pursuing a license in Times Square, of all places. So if you saw the ball drop on New Year's Eve, that is that famous Times Square, and they were pursuing a Times Square destination. Then there was Nas with Resorts World out of Queens, framing it as sort of a come home, back to the borough type of resort. And so Nas, if you remember back in the 90s, he was a pretty famous rapper during the rap wars, so to speak. They put together a bid for Resort World Queens, and of course the Hard Rock, the MGM at some point. So a lot of these big gaming companies have been putting together these bids. Only 3 winners, and that's what we're talking about now. So the winners so far have been Bally's, the Hard Rock, and Resorts World won with Queens. In fact, it looks like there's 2 that are coming into Queens, and that's where let's turn it over to Mike, because Mike knows who of these are really the winners and how a lot of this has come to be. So, Mike, give us your insight.
Yeah, I think everybody's a winner. I wouldn't say any of the three projects that got approval are losers. I know, originally there was 8 projects that were pitched, and it was ended up being 3. Right, there's going to be 3 winners. Earlier in the year, I was looking at the licenses that were being pitched, and being from Nevada, I was really a favorite of MGM, Caesars, Resorts World, Bally's, and I would even throw the Hard Rock into the Nevada circle because of the Seminoles and what they're doing there with the former side of the Mirage. So those were my favorites going into the home stretch there. I was obviously shocked that Caesars wasn't picked. Their pitch was not, didn't get it into the final selection. It didn't make it out of the initial round. MGM was a little bit of a surprise, of course. Such a strong company, and they just decided that they looked at the situation, and the dynamics kind of changed. They were only going to get a 15-year license, not a 30-year license. They felt that the competition was going to be very, very high in a very small area, and they decided to pull out, which shocked a lot of people, me included. So then you have Resorts World, you have Bally's, of course, and then the Seminoles. Like Scott said, Seminoles are in great shape, first to market. They're going to get a huge lead out in front of everybody. I love the Seminoles and what they're doing in Nevada. I think, like Scott said, once they get up and running, they're going to be a tough operation. They might be the leader in market share when it's all said and done. Bally's, I'm not going out on a limb, with concerns there. Everyone talks about their balance sheet and, how much debt they're carrying. They've got shovels in the ground in Chicago. That hasn't been completed yet. Of course, the project in Las Vegas with the A's Stadium, no one really knows where that is. That's going to be a multi-billion-dollar project. And then, of course, they have New York. So where are they going to get access to all this capital necessary to get these projects up and running? And are they going to be able to service the debt? Time will tell. Are they going to have to partner up with somebody? Are they going to pull out of the Las Vegas project and someone else is going to go in there? We'll see. But I think all 3 are winners. They might not have been the 3 that I would have picked. In fact, I know they wouldn't have been. But I wasn't the guy that was in charge of making those decisions. I would have liked to see MGM, Caesars, and of course the Seminoles. That would have been my top 3. But that's not quite how it worked out.
Okay, I just want to make one quick, because you had mentioned it's Resorts World that has the Racino. They'll be up in the 90 days, and Hard Rock is following suit. So I have a couple of questions for you. It's just sort of interesting. Vegas right now is experiencing a bit of decline, right? So we're seeing less tourists, of course. We're seeing sort of a hyper competitive pricing market now, trying to attract locals or less international people coming to Vegas, this type of thing. And so the conditions have been really challenging for some operators here. And I know recently one of the last sort of retreats was the MGM. They made this statement about the business conditions. They felt like I hear what you're saying about the competition. There's these 3 casinos that are very close, even though it's a lot of people, but still. I wonder how much has the local, the Vegas market, how much do you think this reality played a role in their decision to move out? Or was it about just the $500 million? I mean, when they say business conditions, what do you think that they're really talking about?
I don't think it had anything to do with Las Vegas. I think they just felt that their capital could be deployed elsewhere for a higher return. Much like I think Wynn pivoted out of New York a long time ago too, right? They looked at it and felt their capital could be deployed elsewhere for a higher rate of return, and New York was no longer where they were going to invest. I think it's a shame from New York, but they made a business decision, and it's a smart group over there. So if they decided to pull the plug, they had their reasons, and I don't think it was tied to Las Vegas. I really don't. And they do have a casino in New York. They have the Yonkers property, so that's not going away. They're just not going to invest they're not going to invest $2.3 billion into that property.
So the other part that I'm a New Yorker. I lived in New York. I grew up in New York as a young person. I grew up in Queens, and then I was in Brooklyn for a minute. And what I know about the politics of New York, see, I wonder how politicized, instead of being more of a business decision, how it became more of a political decision. That's my worry, because I also believe that the New York Central or Times Square, I think that was a fantastic opportunity. I feel like, two casinos in the same borough is a bit of a takeaway. I'm not sure, right? So there's and I wonder, and I think, I read an article recently, but it kind of extrapolates a lot of these other ideas, the conspiracy, and how many people played a role. I'm not sure that's a thing, but I do wonder, especially when it comes to so much money, $500 million, right? Who's willing to pay? Do you think, like, so? Is Times Square? Come on now, Times Square. Wouldn't that have been a great place to put a damn casino in the middle of, like, it's like one of the most popular destinations in the world? No.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see that project didn't even make it into the final round.
Yeah.
Whatever the initial approval you had to get to make it to the final round, the Caesars project didn't even make it out.
Yeah.
David,
Scott,
do you
got
think?
something?
Yeah. Do you think? Do you think that the Bronx can handle infrastructure wise with two casinos there?
I mean, I think that it's always difficult. You know what's crazy is when they build anything in New York City with the scaffolding and everything else, the sidewalk becomes a mess. It just becomes a mess, right? And traffic is impacted. It's a very pedestrian type of city. Everything is really built for walking. If you've never been to New York City, you've never seen so many people in a crosswalk in your life. Like, there's no other place like it. I've been to Mexico City. It's which is kind of close in the center of Mexico. You can see, like, where people, the pedestrian types of things, but it's tight. It's very tight. Infrastructure is very difficult to build out and do it in a budget friendly way, right? So all these other costs that are associated with it, impacts other businesses, everything else. But I do know that New York has a history of politicizing literally everything. There's so many people who have their hands in things. There's like these neighborhood groups, and then it's another group and this other group before it ever gets to anyone who has a real definitive say. See, here in this state, we have a regulatory body, right? We have this whole very sort of much more linear process of people who are very professional. That's their job. We have city managers. We don't have politically elected people that, are liberal or conservative or whatever the case is. We have, if you go to Henderson, there's a mayor, but there's a city manager who does really the hard stuff. You have a political leader, but then you have a city manager. New York is much more of a political type of environment, right, where people are playing, different roles. And I think ultimately that might come to bite some of these casinos right in the ass, or anyways, the people that have been put behind them. I do know that the Jay-Z's team came out with a statement that was very, I would say, angrier than you would think, in that they were, kind of tossed aside in a bit, even though they had, a very strong case. And that's where I feel like that's a loss. Here,
were they claiming West Coast bias over there?
I mean, they're just claiming that it was, that they made the wrong decision. That if it was,
And in Nevada, we never had a scenario where there's a bidding war to see who's going to develop a casino. It's a company that wants to come in and build a casino, and they go ahead and do it. They don't have to be selected about a group of five. So it's a really different process, right? It's something that we'd never see that in Nevada.
Yeah, we never see, and I feel like the more you politicize any of these processes, right, where you make it conditional on all these other things that have nothing to do with the gaming part, like the actual regulatory parts of it, that it's a takeaway from whatever ends up being there. Louisiana went through this. They gave one license to Harrah's in New Orleans, right, when they wanted to build their first land. I happened to be there at the time. I played a role as a consultant for one of the ownership groups, and it was a CF. It was a cluster. It really was. They made all these considerations about how the casino was to hire people, how the casino was going to be structured and organized. You know what I mean? Even when it came to the floor, it became its other thing.
And that was a very political event too, because the governor of Louisiana was in bed with Caesars. He was a huge player there, and so of course who's he going to select? He selected Caesars.
Yeah.
Did he have outstanding markers?
Dude.
Probably.
I mean, he ended. I mean, it was so corrupt.
Can we check his marker ballots? How many TTOs this guy?
David, corruption in Louisiana? Come on, no way.
I know, right?
Come on.
I got to share this story because our listeners will love this. This is a true flippant story. I'm the pit boss of the Bell of Baton Rouge. It's owned by Argosy, okay, at the time, who has now since been bought over by Penn Gaming. And for those of you that know my story, I went out there to open the boat. That was my first real training job. I trained all of the crap dealers that started on that boat. This is 1990 something. I forget the exact date. But whenever Bell opened, I was there the 6 months earlier as part of that opening team. I originally was only hired as the... anyways, I ended up being the craps pit manager, but then they had this trader who was very deficient, and so I started teaching all of the crap training. The day before the boat was going to open, we had this VIP launch, right? We already went through the scam that the Coast Guard. So our regulatory body, when we were actually sailing, was not a gaming control board. It was the Coast Guard, because Coast Guard had regulatory oversight over all the waterways, and they hadn't made that transfer. And then the rest of it was the revenue. It was so crazy. Anyways, I'm on the VIP cruise, right? It's basically invitation only. It's sold out. Our casino manager, I want a table game director, who's now considered the table game director. That title has changed. He gives me three envelopes to give out to three BIF people that are going to show up and stand over here. Literally, these three people are going to show up on this boat and they are going to stand over here. I want you to go over and hand them these three envelopes. And you can clearly see it was cash. It was just cash. There was no real attempt to cover up what the hell was in this envelope. Now, I asked...
You sure it wasn't a parking pass? It might have been a parking pass.
No. So... Turns out that they're all state legislators. They were recognized by one of the locals who was working in the pit, and I was like, no flipping way. And it was clear, even though no one he told me it was promotional money. It was promotional money. So whatever. I'm just doing my job. Hopefully. But this happened, and it went on. Argosy was not allowed to open. The Coast Guard pulled us over while we were out in the waterway, and shut us down. They shut us down we extended the time for 2 weeks. Argosy was taking a stance up until then to not pay any of the bribe money that locals were asking for. And I mean out in the open, like it was a common known fact. There was a memo that went through to the supervisors saying, hey, if you're approached by anybody, you're not authorized to speak. All this has to go to this designated person, but we're not paying any bribes. There's no bribes going on, and over. And so Coast Guard kept shutting us down. The Coast Guard, a federal agency, kept shutting us down. One time they shut us down because we didn't count the birds. You know how tables are, they have that soft count, when we close the rack, when we do the table inventories. Every casino rounds up the birds. It's a $10 roll. It's a cut roll. It's 10 or it's 0. You know what I mean? And so they shut us down for 2 weeks for that. I mean, it was just so corrupt. But anyways, this $500 million fee that they're paying. Remember, Harris had to pay $150 million. They never got there. They could never pay the fee. They never made that much money. Do you think these casinos are going to have trouble paying this fee?
No, I don't. If they do, it'd be Bally's, but I don't think anyone else will out of the other two.
Okay, yeah.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go. I know
Hard Rock's going to Hard Rock's writing a check.
Yeah, Hard Rock has it in cash.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
They're just going to walk it out over there.
Yeah, I feel like Bally's is. I even hear locals right now. We're very unsure what the hell's going on with this stadium. They forgot the air conditioning, and then they had to Then they're like, no, we're going to add air conditioning. You can't not have air conditioning in the state, just so you know. All right. Well, you guys have anything else to talk about about New York?
No, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out and see if the projects all get built and developed. And like Scott said, in 5 years, let's see who the market leader is when it's all said and done. I think that I'm a big fan of the Knowles coming in and with Mr. Cohen and his model with, the City Field. We all know that
And that's the Hard Rock.
The relationship
Yes.
between Allegiant Stadium. What did I say?
Yeah.
The
The
stadium
Knolls.
at Allegiant and how that plays into Las Vegas, and there's going to be I really like the synergy of that project with the casino when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agree. Go ahead.
I'm a little concerned with the new change in leadership over there. Might play a factor. We'll see.
At Hard Rock?
No,
At
mayor.
the city, the new mayor.
Oh, with the new, well, there's a lot of stuff going on. No matter what side of the aisle, it's quite interesting time to be alive. I will say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The courts are going to stay very busy for a long time, dude. There'll be nothing for the rest of us. You know what's interesting? I will add this only because I have some context. I am a big fan of Nas. Even when I was younger, I loved his music. He pivoted. He's one of these rappers that was. He had some. I thought that his message was always very positive, and he pivoted from being a rap star and a music producer to being a private equity manager. Like that's what he's been doing for the last couple of decades. If you haven't heard of any Nas records, it's because he has been working on building businesses through this private equity fund, and he's been successful at this. Resorts World here in Vegas is struggling. We were just there yesterday, and let me just say, definitely struggling. And they're trying to surround themselves. They brought in some big heavy hitters to kind of upgrade and figure this out. I'm not sure it's having the right impact. I went to the garage yesterday. We have CES show here in town. A lot of garages are full. Resorts World, not so much. Like not busy. Like the convention center is across the street and it's packed with people. And then you go into Resorts World itself, and the garage had 25 cars. I mean, I thought the garage would be full. I couldn't park. We were afraid we weren't able. We had an event there, and there was no problem parking. Let me just say it was quite something. But okay, let's move on to the iGaming thing, because I think we're all going to have a lot to say about this one. But let me highlight kind of the real big things, and then I will turn them over to you guys. But basically, iGaming is becoming a very big part of everybody's day-to-day. More and more people are sort of converging onto iGaming. There's a lot of people in this space that are literally looking at any way to kind of monetize this scenario and get in everybody's pocket. There are very few guardrails in place, and the guardrails are very easy to overcome. And still the iGaming is growing very quickly. So let me just go down this very quick. So right now we're looking at 4 to 5% growth every year, which is pretty significantly. Which is pretty significant. This last year has seen some record inflows into iGaming, and everyone knows this because quite literally, on YouTube. In all the social media platforms, iGaming now is some of the biggest sponsors of almost every type of content that you can see. So if you're watching this podcast right now, it's probably going to be interrupted by some type of sweepstake game, iGaming game. I mean, it just goes on and on. And we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the numbers. We're going to talk about the cannibalization. And then we're going to talk about the AI components and the relationship or the contradiction with brick-and-mortar. All right, I'm gonna send it to. How about you, Scott? How about you start us off?
Well, the iGaming, I started in New Jersey, and the iGaming has been a lifeline for New Jersey over the last couple of years. And I'm very, very, very concerned about New Jersey's position with New York now. Brick-and-Mortar in New Jersey is going to be on life support very soon. I think that's going to be a really, really tough story. However, the iGaming piece in New Jersey has been amazing. It's really, really been profitable. My major worry with the iGaming is the problem gambling aspect. I'm very concerned. I've got students that I take care of. I'm very concerned about the underage piece. A lot of our young people are very tech savvy, getting around the getting around the age components, being able to have that access to your phone and 24/7. Folks are married to their phone now, and if you get into the death scroll on Facebook, that's one thing. All that does is give you a blister on your finger and waste a lot of time. But if you're grinding slot machines or Keno machine online, that's a big deal. I'm really concerned that there's going to come a point where the government's going to step in and demand. You mentioned guardrails, David. I think these guardrails are going to have to be a lot more transparent. The geofences have to be stronger. The problem gambling piece, the time restrictions. I think time restrictions is a big deal, and I think everybody should be limited. A max win and max loss.
Yeah.
I mean, as an operator, operators don't want to hear that. But if the government comes in and says that's it, you're done. We're pulling the iGaming. They're going to shut the lights out in New Jersey.
Yeah. So here, before I turn it over to Mike, I will tell you the guardrails are really they don't exist. As much as they say they exist, that's not a thing. Kids just grab their parents' ID. They know how to. A 12-year-old is more tech savvy than all three of us combined in most cases. So, they can say they have guardrails. Like they have these pop-up screens. You can get around them so easily, by making any kind of claim. Even the license things are silly. You can get around. The geofencing is not a thing because there's all these VPN software. People in Russia are pretending to be like next door to me, right? So. That's not a thing. I think that the lack of guardrails is a big deal. All right, Mike, what do you have? What's your commentary?
Yeah, I think just from the Nevada perspective, look, we know that in Nevada, the interactive model, it only includes poker. We all understand the importance of brick and mortars to our state, to our citizens and our visitors. That's what our model is, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think. When you look back to when Nevada was, contemplating what they were going to do, Sheldon Adelson was a huge anti-iGaming proponent. He was very concerned about putting a casino in one of these, and what that could end up doing. I don't think there's much of an appetite in Nevada to change that model anytime soon. I know there's some Nevada licenses that are involved with iGaming, and they're fairly successful. And they'll tell you that it's a completely different customer. Like 1 + 1 does equal 2. There's the brick and mortar customer. There's the iGaming customer. They're completely separate, so they're not really telling you about cannibalization. And the trajectory is amazing, right? In these markets where the growth is all coming from the iGaming. And everything else is relatively flat. I like the way Nevada has done things. I think, could we generate more revenue? Could we generate more taxes? Yeah, we could, but at what cost? Is that going to end up closing a casino? Is that going to end up meaning a person loses their job or thousands of people lose their job? So that's worrisome. I think the brick and mortars, they invest so much capital, right, in building these amazing properties that attract people from all over the world, and they don't just go there to gamble, right? We all know that 70% of the revenue for a casino on the Strip comes from the non-gaming side, and so it's just such the revenue pie is so diverse. It's not just concentrated on a phone playing a slot machine. So I've never been a fan. I would never, be one to say Nevada should have got involved in it. I just I kind of like where we are. I think we're in a good place, and like Scott said, it'll be interesting to see what happens to New Jersey down the road with New York, and what is going to happen to those brick and mortars, and is it all going to just be iGaming? So that's kind of my take on things. Mm-hmm.
Here's an interesting thing. Okay, so I want to unpack a few things out of here because there's three really big categories. So the one category I will say is you have, in a casino environment, we have the retail player and we have sort of the premium integrated player, the guy that's going to come and buy in for $500, but he also is going to go and him and the wife are going to go to the restaurants. They're going to see the shows. They're going to really take in what the casino represents, or what the resort represents, the integrated resort, the IR model now is what it's become. You have this retail player that comes to a casino. They buy in for less money. They play at a lower level, and yet but there's guardrails in the casino. There's lots of guardrails. Like, you can't just walk in the casino and be completely irresponsible. You can't get drunk and do stupid stuff. The problem, I think, with the iGaming part of it for me is that they've lowered the barrier entry so much that those people that get sucked up and swallowed up by iGaming now have less incentive to experience or create this experience in the brick-and-mortar environment. So I feel like iGaming is a complete utter takeaway until it's literally becomes something else. It's not, there are other ways to engage with the marketplace with people that you might like these sweepstake games or these sort of lottery games and all these other little catchy things that have really less to do with gambling. Well, I guess they're still gambling, but that's my big problem. I talked to somebody recently and who has a young person. Their son took their parents' ID, signed up on one of these penny gambling sites, penny slot sites, and lost a shit ton of money. And originally, the son justified it as like, well, I would buy in for $2. Like, I was only playing pennies. But you start out playing pennies, and it really is the gateway to everything else. Why would you stay playing pennies? If you have success playing pennies, you're going to go to nickels and dimes. The next thing you know, you just sucked into this whole other thing. That's a complete takeaway from the idea of gambling and it being an experience in a regulated, professional environment. That's the part where, and then I'm going to couple this because I know, Scott, you have a thing. That's where I love the conversations that Adelson. So I agree with Adelson in some parts because I was also very familiar with his, Shelley Berkeley worked for him, was close to him. Of course, she ran on to become a congresswoman. She lost the Senate race, and I got to hear her talk so much crap to her staff. You have no idea. She was a very unhappy camper when she lost that Senate race. And my office, my wall was literally, I could hear her over in the next, and let me tell you,
allegedly,
she's not happy. Allegedly. I was the GOTV director for the state, and so and let's just say she was not happy. Ooh, she was a feisty, and she's mayor now. Congratulations, Shelley. I like her. She's got a lot of spunk, dude. That good lady. So, anyways, but Scott, well, here, go, Scott. You want something to add to this quickly?
Yeah, I really got nervous when the iGaming pivoted to live dealer and slots. That's when I said, oh man. I said, from an operator standpoint, from stockholder, from an educator, and from a guy who really loves the brick and mortar side of things, I'm really concerned. I think sports only would have been a home run. Sports every which way. Fantasy sports, the things that live in-game wagering is so popular now. The things they do in the sports book, there's so much that they could do and still win. I'm just very concerned that you got folks hiding under the covers, playing slot machines or playing baccarat. Have you seen this live dealer? It's unbelievable, yes. Dave. They've got studios set up and they're piping in live dealer. It's awesome. It's really awesome, but I'm very concerned about it. And then you've got, I don't even think we touched on yet, what about the gray market? You got the gray market out there. And why is there a gray market that's very successful when BetMGM and you've got all that, right? Because those folks are playing on credit. Those folks, I've got a couple. I heard that there's people out there that they don't have to settle up till it gets to be like 2,500 one way or another. They post up a bankroll, but they don't settle until their agreed upon number happens. So credit plays a big deal because we all know how tough it is when you have to walk up to that window and lay 110 to win 100, and you get a ticket back, and now you got to go root the game. It's real easy to be a knucklehead when you back in the day pick up the phone You can
Yeah,
get
call your
cured real
bookie.
quick when you have to pay up front.
I mean,
That's
can
what
you
I,
imagine?
I'm.
There's already the Klarnas. Can you imagine you can't afford your burrito, but you're going to go in debt to gamble on these penny sites. You're going to do pay as you go, split it up into 4 payments. I mean, you're just digging these other holes. By the way, Scott, so Mike, I have something for you that you might know about. I was approached. So we have a dealer school. We have 30 tables, right? I was approached by an exhibitor who has a warehouse, and he's got X number of tables, and a company allegedly, not really allegedly, this is true, because I know that they were trying to virtualize the tables here in this state to try and sort of create this license where you could have virtual dealers in an environment and you do table overlays. And so they were asking us how many tables we could provide to this location, and we said 0 tables, sir. Like, that's never a thing. We're never going to be in an environment where we have all our tables. But did you hear about this? Did you know that this company, because someone was busted recently? No.
I think I think MGM might have been involved in trying to set something like this up as well, and I don't think I'm not 100% sure if it ever happened. Not meaning they were gonna they might have tried to set up a studio in Nevada for their online casinos elsewhere, but I don't know
Okay.
if that I don't know if that was approved or not. That was that was a little bit out of my lane because it really didn't have any revenue impacts on our state because that's obviously that's
Yeah.
not allowed. So I think at the end of the day, this stuff's not going anywhere. It's not leaving. It's going to be here to stay, and we're just gonna have to watch and hope that the bad things aren't as bad as we think they might be. But time will tell. But it's not going anywhere, and the trajectory on the iGaming is a lot better than it is on the brick and mortars in some jurisdictions right now. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Oh
New
yeah,
Jersey and Pennsylvania, the iGaming exceeded the brick and mortar gaming.
big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm really not. I think it takes away the whole opportunity that gaming is.
And iGaming's only legal is it 5 jurisdictions? It's Michigan, New Jersey, uh, what's the
Mississippi,
others?
Mike.
No. Delaware. There's some small players as well. Pennsylvania. I think Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey are the 3 big players right now with legalized iGaming. It's not spreading to all 50 states. I think a lot of people are concerned about what it can do and where it's going to go. So right now it isn't catching on like wildfire.
YouTube. Just those of you who are on YouTube or watch this on YouTube, YouTube doesn't allow for any ads from any of these. If you don't have a state license, you cannot. Technically, you can't really. You're not supposed to be able to advertise. And if you're a content creator that is in this space and you're taking advantage of a sponsorship, you can have your site banned, right? So that's a thing. I will tell you this: we do not. Me and Alex have been offered $1 million, more than that, to sponsor an iGaming site, what Scott referred to as a gray site for roulette. We have arguably one of the largest roulette channels on the planet, and so we were approached. We've been approached a couple times, and I guess we could have taken the money and run, but for the long term, that's not a win. And we had no real opportunity. We've never wanted to go that route because we have a dealer school. We have this other vision that we want to play out for ourselves. If you watch some of those videos, it's so sketchy. The technology they use for roulette, I mean, you don't know. Unless it's a licensed venue, you never know if you're going to get paid. God forbid you win a ton of money. You never know if it's rigged or if it's not rigged. By the way, the craps odds are terrible. Like the game itself, the data sets on the way that yes, the dice come out of this little thing and they go, but who cares? They've increased the house odds significantly because of the structure and the way that they force you to bet. And it's a terrible, terrible game. And that's in every capacity. Those of you that are playing roulette through these iGaming venues, let me just say that they have pushed all those side bets and 5 balls flowing all over the place. These are nonsense games. These aren't for serious gambling. You're a serious gambler. You should just stay the hell away from any of these sites. And I mean, to a T, unless of course, again, you're in New Jersey. It's tied to a licensed venue. Obviously, they have to have all these controls in place. That's different. But anywhere else that you might live, it's just so silly to put yourself in that position.
And David, I just looked. There's 7 states where fully legalized, regulated, real money online gaming is operating. That's Connecticut, Delaware, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and West Virginia. So it's not catching on like wildfire. But I think you guys, a lot of what you're talking about are the gray market areas where you can play in unregulated sites, right?
Right.
Like sports betting is everywhere, right? It's 30 some states now, but the online component really hasn't taken off yet. And I think because of some of the concerns we've talked about here today, with problem gambling, cannibalization, having a casino in your pocket, in your phone. So we'll see if it spreads, but it hasn't spread like wildfire yet.
Yeah, it's always so hard to have this conversation because I know especially that we have a very libertarian streak here in Nevada, right? Like people love their independence. They love to be, they love to make their own choices and not be told what to do in every instance. And I get that. But us three that have been, and I'm speaking to anyone who's listening, problem gaming is a thing. There are so many people that I have watched as a dealer over time, working at a casino for just a year and a half, where someone literally went from a millionaire to a cab driver in a year and a half, a millionaire real estate broker to a local cab driver here in Vegas, $25,000 markets at Caesar's Palace to $60 buy-ins on a bird game at the Gold Coast. That's a thing. That story about that dentist at the Fremont and Horseshoe, that's a true story. Those are stories that we have shared with you guys. And it plays out every day. I just got a call yesterday about a sister who's worried about the brother who won a lot of money, but now now he won. That's like the worst thing that can happen to you sometimes. You win a shit ton of money, have a great time, you have this wonderful experience, you get calmed, you stay at this big room. It's right. And now now he's stuck. Now he can't get his head back to work. He thinks that he can replicate this over and over again. That's just not how it works. That's why when you think of gambling, it's entertainment. It's something you do to have fun. And the resorts have really, if you come to Vegas, the resorts they know this. That's why when you come, it's not just about the games and sweating out the wins. It's about all of it. The great food, the great shows. It's this whole experience that you could have. So you don't just get, rifled in. But anyways, you can take my word for it or, not, I guess. But iGaming scares the living crap out of me. Not as much as our next topic. Okay, anybody have anything else? And we'll get to the next topic. You ready? Because we have this. I'll let everybody know David screwed up the last podcast, but I'm almost happy that we did. Because here we're back, and something happened recently. It has to do with Venezuela. So those of you, and it's so great. Well, it's not great. Well, anyways, it happened, and we're here to talk about it. The thing that scares the living crap out of me is these prediction markets. I have to say, because it's just talk about a lack of guardrails and regulatory body and all that stuff. So those of you who may not know and you're living under some rock somewhere, I'm gonna turn this right over to those guys in a second. But there's a thing called prediction markets now, and it's expected to be to move $1 trillion by the end of this decade. It is the fastest growing market by far. And basically, it's yes, no. Yes, no. So, it's a yes, no equation. You can make anything a yes, no. You can make a slot machine. You can make a question. It is literally the most abusive or potentially the most abusive environment I've ever heard of. And there's a lot of things that have happened recently. I'm going to go into those real quickly. Then I'm going to turn them over to you guys because we have two of the best people to talk about this. But let me just see how this is rolled out. So this is the biggest one is wait, what the hell is the name of it? Oh my God, I don't even have it here.
DraftKings and FanDuel.
No, Kalshi. So all you young people have heard of Kalshi already. So I did not hear of Kalshi. I knew of FanDuel, I knew of DraftKings, but Kalshi is everywhere. And it has grown and made its owner, the starters, billionaires like overnight. because they've been so successful on this sort of poly market and the prediction market. But basically what it is it is a contract. People bet whether something will happen or the outcome of something, yes or no. It's as simple as that. If you have Robinhood, it's on Robinhood. And the biggest players right now are Kalshi, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Now, FanDuel and DraftKings were pursuing licenses here in this state, in Nevada. They were pursuing their own licenses. And they were like, listen, this prediction market is making us so much flipping money. You guys can take your license and shove it. We're literally out of this space. We're going to make our money on this. That's how much money. And you guys, those of you into sports, you know that FanDuel, DraftKings already a big deal. In fact, DraftKings has a really nice. They're in the uncommons. If you ever come out here, they're right across from the brand new Durango. They have a big ass office. It's a beautiful space. We've been in there. They have all this stuff in there. It's really fantastic. But okay, let me turn it over to you guys. What's your insight on prediction markets? Who wants to start?
Well, I'll start. I mean, it's pretty much the prediction markets were the story heading into the end of 2025, and they're not going away anytime soon. I think the biggest story in gaming was, well, I don't know if it was gaming, but like to your point, David, with the prediction market and poly market, with there was a contract on the ouster of the Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro. And there was a suspicious contract made a few hours before he was taken out. And the person that was involved that made that wager, or it's not a wager, took a yes on that contract, made a $400,000 win. And so it just brings up everything that we're concerned about. Integrity. Is the CFTC, are they monitoring? Was this a legitimate bet? Was there insider trading? Was there insider knowledge? So not a good way to start the year with a scandal like that. But I think it just kind of opens up everyone's eyes into the potential issues that this could bring about. Like you said, it's expected to be $1 trillion market, and 44% of that is going to come from sports, they estimate. So almost half of it's going to be on sports wagering. And so to your point of money, well, why do you think DraftKings and FanDuel exited the American Gaming Association? Because they want to make money. And in terms of licensing in Nevada, their model doesn't fit here, and it never will. They can't figure out how to make Nevada work for them. So they never were really very committed to us. And they're obviously not committed to the AGA because they decided we're no longer a part of it. Does it surprise me? Not at all. They were the guys that told us fantasy sports wasn't gambling. And how much of a joke was that? And so I'm not surprised at all what they've done. That's who they are. They're there to make money. They're a business, and that's what they're going to do. In Nevada, we're working very hard to shut this down. It's tied up in the courts right now. A federal judge ordered Kalishi to stop offering sports contracts in Nevada, ruled in our favor. And when I say our favor, Nevada regulators, and the decision is currently being appealed. So Nevada's working on no longer having these contracts offered in the state. And we're doing it to protect our operators that have invested billions of dollars to offer sports wagering here, and they're basically, they don't care. They're trying to tell us it's not sports wagering. We all know what it is. We know what a wager is when we see it. So
Right.
hopefully soon, it's going to be exposed for what it is. And we'll go from there. I do worry that it's got a lot of federal support from some very powerful people. I know Donald Trump Jr. He's an advisor for Kelshi, so that's concerning. And where the president stands on this, and what if there's going to be any kind of intervention. But we'll see. But it's not going anywhere.
Scott, what do you got?
I really agree 100% with Mike. I get concerned. But, we just talked about the proliferation of in-game wagering with the legal sports books. And we've had, even with the legal sports books, we've had some issues with proposition bets, prop bets on a basketball player is going to have 6 points and 3 rebounds. They tip the game off. The game starts, and that player, oh, hamstring, I'm out of the game, and they walk off the court. I mean, I'm very concerned just in the legal space. So, I'm a big fan of in-game wagering when it's game situations where one individual doesn't have 100% control over a situation. One individual's got, baseball had the same thing. Will the first pitch be a ball or a strike? David, the ball bounced 5 feet in front of the catcher on both occasions. I mean, Stevie Wonder could see that was fixed. I mean, it's brutal, man. But
Yeah.
I think that to Mike's point, we got to protect the legal system. We got to the folks that are putting up the money, paying the licensing, paying their taxes. They need to be protected. And as long as these gray areas, because that's the closest thing to a gray area I can come with, is what's going on. Mike gave me I last week. Mike and his awesome wife Jen were here, and we had a great time. And he got me coached up on this space real quick, and it's a little scary to me.
So I want to add, this is I want to clarify for everybody exactly. So someone or a group of people across multiple poly markets made. So he's talking. There was a wager that was finally made, $34,000 that someone put up to win $409,000, literally, and that investment peaked just hours before they went and actually extracted Medora. But here's the thing: a total output of $10.5 million. So there was enough wagered that this was going to happen that would require a payment from the poly markets for $10.5 million. And the poly market, like all of them, anyone who is in this space that had these contracts available, they are refusing to pay because whoever set up this contract didn't they used the word invasion in every instance. And the poly markets are claiming that it wasn't technically an invasion, it was an arrest. We went in and we extracted this man, we arrested him, and we didn't invade the country per se. So here you have just all the bad possibilities playing out in one scenario. Who the hell knows within hours that we're actually going to go in and start ramping up these bets? I mean, come on, dude. That's insider information, right? That's number one. Two, there was no one's regulating this. No one's stepping in and going, hey, this is curious. How the hell did this happen? It's like...
You don't think the CFTC was investigating this?
No one was watching crap, dude. Everybody was out to lunch. We were all watching we were asleep. Most of us were even asleep. So no, I think that you're right. I think that right now that there's no appetite to regulate this. There are big players in this space that, Bitcoin is completely, altcoins now are unregulated space, right? Because again, no appetite. Wherever you stand, I'm not getting into politics. What I'm saying is there are certain people making money off of these venues that are in a position of power right now, and that's the way it is. And so they've decided to take the foot off. Those of you who own Ripple, for a long time we couldn't own Ripple. We lost, and now you can because there are certain people that are on the Ripple space or they have altcoins, but no one's watching. Then you have, but here's the thing that I tell people, in this gray market space, you have these companies who are deciding what a word means. Like they're redefining invasion. I think for me, if you go into a foreign capital, which we did, and you take their sitting president or whether he's illegal, but you go in and whoever you take that's kind of an invasion, man. You know what I mean? We use the military, all the militaries actually. Even the Coast Guard's down there, dude. And they, and now you're going to say, oh, no, it's not an invasion. So you got to make up your minds. You either got to have this nonsense market and pay, or now people are referring to it as the poly scam market. That's not good for business. No?
No. I'm gonna quote the president of the AGA, who just recently spoke to this. Sport event contracts are gambling, and gambling is regulated by states and tribes. In 2026, the AGA will continue to defend this framework and uphold state authority and tribal sovereignty. That's where I stand. It's gambling, man.
Yeah, 100%. I also believe that states are the best positioned entities to regulate gambling in their state. The federal government, there's lots of things the federal government can do. Hopefully I have a social security check waiting for me one day, these kinds of things. But when it comes to gambling, states know where the casinos should go, who the people should be involved. They can drill down into the rev. They can create gaming commissions and really look at things in a very granular way that, quite frankly, the federal government is just not in the best position. You can't blanket this. Not everybody or not everything is suited in sort of, one federal guideline. Every state has their own kind of things that they address, right? We have states in like New Mexico, half the state of Mexico is tribal land. So you got a lot of tribes, or Arizona, same thing, right? You have in California, Nevada really doesn't have a lot of tribes. We have kind of different types of, observations and, influences from the Aldelsons and the Winds. And we have this kind of legacy sort of market here. But I think when you take the states out and you hold it to this commodities market, and then which are there anybody? Is this a defunded federal entity? Is there anybody over there that's working?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of these federal agencies were kind of defunded. You know what I mean? Like, they may not be a lot of guys over there really paying attention. It's not much to say. But here, everybody's paying attention. You can't do that here in this state. Everybody's paying attention. They'd be knocking on your door day two. Someone complains here in this state, and they have a phone you can pick up and call. You know what's interesting? Many years ago, Debbie Reynolds owned a casino, which eventually became the W. You guys remember this? I don't know. I used to go by there all the time on my way to work. And I went by one day, and all of her slot machines were being hauled out by the I forget what it was, but yeah, gaming control board. They were literally there was a police officers there, and they were literally taking all of the. She had to remember she apparently it wasn't Debbie, but the company that she hired to manage her slot environment. Somebody called. And either didn't get paid, I forget what happened, and she lost her license. She had to relinquish her gaming license, and I literally saw the slot machines in the parking lot of the Debbie Reynolds Casino, right there on Hotel Convention Center Drive, going right up into the Riviera. Right away, the gaming commission came down, saw there was a problem, and boom, they exercised their authority to, shut that down and take away her license. She had to come out in front of it and say, hey, this was this independent company, it wasn't me, I'm really sorry. She kept the other side going for a while, still doing her show, but you can't do that with the poly market. Who's watching? Yeah? Yeah,
I agree. It's pretty scary, and I know for a fact, it's taking away handle from licensed sports books all across the country. For a fact, I have friends that use it. They're not betting on the Caesars app anymore. They're doing Kelshi.
Right.
So if I know people that are doing that in my little neck of the woods, imagine everywhere else, and in states where sports betting isn't legal, California, Texas. So they're really getting around big time on that this is event contracts and I'm not gambling.
Yeah, I know a lot of kids that are on it. I mean a ton. I can't even begin it. We get emails.
Underage?
There are parents that call us, underage kids all throughout it.
Yeah.
It's just so easy. I mean, it really is. And by the way, you only have to be 18. So there it is. There's that as well. You don't have to be 21.
So if you have to be 18,
yeah.
right? That's what I mean. So if you're 18, who's circumventing that? The 15 and 16-year-olds.
Yeah. They're young, really, really young people. South Park did an episode about it. The schoolyard yes/no equation, just coming up with some nonsense. And when South Park starts addressing it, then now everybody knows that it's there, and the kids. It's just. it's just this it's this hole that once you go down, it's so hard to cover up. I really, really hope that we can get ahead of it. My other fear as well is that just technology has evolved to the point where it's so hard. It's like this, that little mole game, that where you whack a mole game. It's sort of like that. It's just so hard to stay ahead of the tech, especially when, young people have access to all these programs that are really there for you to circumvent, literally, everything, right? So I speak with somebody in Venezuela who uses Telegram because, most other avenues of discussion are closed, so they still have a way. And when he uses it, he appears, uses a VPN. He can appear in Vegas. We could play World of Warcraft together. You know what I mean? It's just crazy how this is a thing. But all right, let's
going back to your point about kids. I have a friend that his son, he was using Kelshi, and I talked to him and I said, why are you using that? And he goes, oh, so much easier for me to set up than it was for me to go to set up the William Hill account. So and he's 21, but that was easier for him. And I'm just like, oh my God, so multiply that by 1 million. That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's such a crazy space. I know that the money is so attractive to a lot of people because it's literally become about that for so many people. And this is what I struggle with so often is and not to kind of make us out to be anything different, but I feel like every time you this money path becomes the path of least resistance, it takes away from sane people doing sane things and doing right. Like there's only the potential for the abuse. Even if you say that there's a lot of people that use it intelligently, but there's too much other stuff out there that puts too many other people in jeopardy. And as a collective group, we should say no, and we should come up with ways to create a better environment, especially with gambling. It's just so crazy to me that we're allowing all these people to just ruin their retirements and their health funds. I have a dealer here in town who has worked her whole life at very high end place. Doesn't have a pot to piss in because she spends all her money gambling on slot machines and video poker, and has never taken a moment to really sort of manage her future. And so it's a real shame that we can't get ahead of this, without, not that I want to dictate to anyone and I want to control anybody's lives, but man, having constructive regulations and guardrails in place to kind of prevent this, this type of thing. But what do you think? So should we move on to the next? Because man, we can go down this hole for a long time. All right,
David, what do you?
It really is.
What do you see are the bright lights in 2026, my man?
Let
me ask you a question.
Yeah, I am looking forward to our app. This is my insert ad here segment. We're building an app with all the games and everything else that you could play. No gambling, education kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of the casino space, I love seeing the Hard Rock guitar going up, and I am very, very encouraged by the new direction that Vegas is taking. We've been really, I would say, massacred. That's probably too big a word. But this year we've taken it on the chops, and tourism is down. A lot of it, some of it outside of our control. Canadians aren't coming. Mexicans aren't coming. Clearly, all these are going on. But I do like that Vegas is now. You see a lot of billboards going up about affordable dining options and cheaper tables, and we're getting ahead of the value proposition. So for all of you people seeing all this drama on YouTube and social media about how Vegas is so expensive, yes, there are parts of it, but their casinos are definitely rethinking the relationship with the gambler especially, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've already spoken, by the way, to quite a few casinos who are bringing back $5 games, 3-2 blackjack. They have they're going to have like happy hours. They're going to encourage, there's these sort of time events. That surge pricing stuff, you're going to see that go bye-bye. They're going to clamp down on that. Can you imagine? So
dude, I got crushed at the last Raiders game I went to. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
By the way, the
That's
optics on that is just terrible, and the greed and the level of greed that really it just got out of hand. And I think casinos are finally, they're getting ahead of it. Hornbuckle even admitted, MGM's CEO admitted that listen, it just got a little out of control. So I like seeing that in the gaming venue. I'm really excited of. I want to see the conversation with Japan evolve. So for those of you who don't know, there's 3 licenses that are go live. MGM is trying to get one of them for sure. They've been pursuing the Osaka. I'd love to see that conversation move to like the next tier, so to speak. So I know they're working on that. That's probably it for gaming. Dude, I went to G2E, and the only thing they had innovating in this space. Okay. I have one more thing. You ready? I believe that the space has lots of rooms to grow in the social media parts of it, believe it or not. So, and then this is the space we're basically in right now with this podcast. So casinos have been very slow to evolve on social media. The ability to use your camera and your phone is somewhat limited for obvious reasons. Yeah. And so there's, they slap you back, and there's been some scandals with regards to the poker players and things like this that have been going on. But there's definitely this attention that's being put to how to create a much more socially diverse space on the gaming floor and make it more familiar for younger people, so they can post Instagrams and they can post shorts and they can kind of record what's going on. And Interblock is John Connell. Interblock has created a new category, and I'll throw it up here because I love what they've done. It's called Amuse. And you're going to start seeing more of this type of thing. And I believe he's bringing some real innovation into the marketplace. So these are games that most of you will have found on social media. One of them is a marble game. We went through, me and Alex went through, we were invited to go see it. And, they're expecting, these are still gambling games and games of chance, sort of. But they're more about engagement, and they're more about socialization. They're more about taking pictures and video, and there's a sort of other relationship with the consumer. And I love that at least he is starting this conversation. I do believe that the brand proposition in Vegas has been diluted for years. Like, if you look down the strip, it's starting to look very mundane. You used to look down the strip and all the signs were unique and original, and the volcano was going off and the Treasure Island show and all that. It's all gone. But now we got the guitar coming. And so I do believe that casinos are going to start focusing more on the brand and unique experiences. And I think John Connell, Interblock, is this Amuse category. I think will have some traction, I hope. And that's I'm looking forward to that. All right, what do you guys got?
I like you said, 25 was rough, right? It was so much bad press. Probably a lot of it, well deserved in terms of pricing, and I think we're coming out of it. At the end of the day, gaming win in Nevada is still up year over year, and we're going to finish the year positive. We're up about 1.5% right now, or about 213 million. Clark County's up 1.2%, or about 149 million, and then the Strip is up just 0.7%, or about 56 million. So it wasn't a complete disaster for gaming. A lot of that was, held up by some very strong lucky baccarat play, but I'm looking forward to turning the page, moving forward. There's some strong events coming to us in 2026. Anything at the Sphere in terms of programming excites me. You have the Backstreet Boys, Eagles, Zach Brown, Kenny Chesney, just to name a few. You have The Wizard of Oz, which is insanely popular. There's some big shows coming into the Allegiant. You have WrestleMania coming back. The World Cup spillover, Scotty mentioned. That's the home cities are LA and San Francisco on the West Coast, but Vegas is going to benefit from that, from sports betting, and not everyone's going to be able to get a ticket. All that international travelers are going to want to be close to the action, and why not Las Vegas? It's going to be a big year for conventions. They're anticipating an all-time record year for conventions. So hopefully we see some of those visitation metrics that have suffered in 2025 come back, and gaming revenue continue to grow. I think, you know, when we're having these discussions and from an analyst perspective, which is what I used to do, you know, even past 2026, there's some things that are coming online that are truly remarkable. We're going to have the college football championship game being played in January of 2027. You have the Hard Rock Hotel opening up in the end of 2027. That's going to be fantastic. The Final Four is going to be played at Allegiant in 2028. The A's are going to open up their stadium. Let's hope. Hopefully they have air conditioning. I haven't heard of that one, David, but
Turn the air up.
The A's stadium is going to happen. And then, you know, we're going to find out real soon. And the greatest event in the history of Las Vegas could potentially return in 2029, and that's the Super Bowl. So we're all praying for that to happen. I think everything looks good on the horizon. 25 was bumpy. Hopefully 2026 is better. I think it will be. There's more than just hope behind that. There's some sound reasoning that I think will be in good shape. And then, yeah, you look past into 2027 and 2028. The city continues to evolve and develop and create things that make it the world-class leader in not just gaming but entertainment. And the sports, that tie-in with sports has just been incredibly strong for the city and for gaming. It's been such a spillover. And, you know, hopefully, and not in some of the things I mentioned here, hopefully an NBA franchise gets announced soon, and that happens. And then we have everything, right? I don't think we're missing anything once we get the NBA. We'll have NFL, NBA, MLB, and the NHL. So,
wow.
I'll take this from former Governor Sandoval. If Las Vegas was a stock, I'd buy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
David, how
What
awesome
you
is
got?
it having the greatest economic analyst in the history of Nevada on our show?
That's some good stuff right there, dude. That is some good stuff.
How do I follow that up, dude?
You're killing me. You're killing me.
How do I follow that
fine,
up,
sir.
dude?
Yeah, you got to go under the bar a little bit.
Woo! Yeah. No, I really believe the World Cup's going to be a tremendous lift. You're going to have the biggest 4th of July party, the 250-year anniversary of our great country. There's going to be a lot of good stuff going on. And if there's going to be an event, Las Vegas is going to participate. World Cup, you're going to have international visitation, definitely going to get a lift. The sports books, it's going to be the biggest sporting event, full stop, ever wagered on in sports, because it's not one time, it's multiple games, and the whole world's involved. I think the sports book handle will be a record handle in the sports books all across the country. So I'm really excited about it. It's David, you and I talked about this on different shows. I'm a value guy. You're a value guy. I'm a big fan of the $3 crap game. I mean, I get nervous when we outprice ourselves, but I'm very comfortable and confident that the leadership of Las Vegas caught it before it got out of control. I think they're going to circle back. They're already circled back. A reset, a reboot in 2026. Let's bring value back a little bit. The luxury players can always be luxury players. You always have to have your win and encores and those level of luxury. But man, everybody in the middle really needs to focus on let's keep the guest happy, and let's try to get an extra visit or two out of everybody, coming in. But that's how I see it. I'm excited for 2026. Gaming's. I'm working in Virginia now. Got a big lift coming in over there. A lot of new openings happening. I think the future's bright for gaming in 2026.
All right, I have some interesting. I have some insight on the opportunity ahead. So Mike reminded me of sort of towards the end of this year, a lot of casinos went on lockdown. They weren't hiring. They were kind of reducing their footprint on the floor. They definitely went through some evaluation, let's just say, of the casino exposure. They pulled back too much. So this the first week of January, I was expecting. Normally, the first week of January, we don't get a lot of calls. Quite frankly, casinos go through the kind of evaluation period. Just from us as a dealer school standpoint, right?
It's a good
we usually
leading
get the
indicator.
calls. Yeah, it's a great indicator. So we usually get calls sort of the middle to the end of the month, and as they ramp up towards February, and the conventions sort of start playing out, and that schedule becomes some more brisk, let's say. But right away, before the end of the new year, we had casinos sort of lining up. We had voice messages of hiring and wanting to speak to us, maybe do a few job fairs, which is kind of a first, quite frankly. That usually never happens. Everybody's on vacation for those last 2 weeks, of December.
That's great.
So we're very encouraged as far as the opportunity on the dealer front. And for those of you out there who's even thinking about it, and we're talking strip properties that are rethinking hiring break-ins for the sake of getting a hold of this, these open jobs that they have for dealers. You mentioned the Sphere. I have to tell you, this James Dolan guy I'm very impressed. So he's Madison Square Garden. His family owns or did own Madison Square Garden, New York City, which of course I grew up with. And he went all in on the Sphere. And for a minute, it wasn't looking so good. They were having a difficult time monetizing the space and getting ahead of this big fat, capital investment they made in building out the Sphere. But now that Wizard of Oz show, they have some really incredible people. The things they're doing, it's sold out. The Eagles have been extended. It's everyone says it's some of the best acoustics, some of the best visuals you'll ever see ever. And this is the kind of stuff that I wish more people, they would go all in. The James Dolans of the world needs to come out to Vegas and find shit to do and go all in he was convinced. Not everybody was convinced. He had to sell off some stuff just to keep it running and kind of I know that in the news they were like, listen, they got a big budget, they're losing money, but now it looks like they're getting ahead of that. And if you haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, I have not been. I was invited to you too,
been, of course.
Yeah,
Well,
you've been, Scotty. So we were invited to this presentation that they had early on. It was kind of like a mini tour. They were showing off some of the tech and stuff. And the one thing that we came away, or those of us that did go, was they were charging $300 to valet your car. They only have 150 spots. Don't park your car there, dude. Go get dropped off by Uber. So I will say I love the Sphere. I love this type of thing. The other thing that makes me very optimistic is, listen, at the end of the day, we have some really wonderful people running Vegas. That react to all this stuff. So, this is a city of evolution. We don't let things stand too long without them being torn down or remodeled or, there's this whole evolution that takes place. So, we got this all figured out. On the sports front, hockey. Years and years ago, it was always crazy. I lived up by the Santa Fe. I actually opened the Santa Fe as a dealer when before it was a station casino. When what's her face owned it? You remember? What was her name? God, getting older. But anyways, it wasn't a station casino. It was owned by she was sort of a politically.
She was a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Santa Fe original. Here, I'm looking it up on there. Do you remember, Scott? What was her name?
My parents would stay there.
At the Santa Fe?
Yeah, before it was the station.
I used to see her. She used to come in. Nevada Nichols hit there one time when I was working there. Hold on. This is going to drive me insane. Because I actually lived there. I lived there with my wife at the time. Santa Fe Casino. God. Sue something. Santa Fe Casino. All right, well, we'll look this out. We'll have Jet edit this down. This is Santa Fe Casino.
God bless Jet.
Yeah. It was here. This is the wiki. Yeah, God bless Jet. Jet's so good. Initial Sue. Her name was Sue something. Why is this not coming up? But anyway, Sue Loudon. You remember her? The Loudon family? Yeah. Sue Loudon. Okay. I got to meet her. She anytime something really big happened, she would come down and she was very hands-on. Nevada Nichols hit there one time for $800,000 and the guy's getting paid. It's this older dude and she's there and it's like, I don't know, it's early in the morning and he's telling them that he was going to tip them $10,000. So when that hit, you got $10,000 and then They ran that machine. I never knew that. They sent the machine up to Reno to inspect it and make sure that they would validate the machine, so they wouldn't write the guy the check or whatever until they did all that. And of course, he never came back. He never tipped anybody. He won $800,000 and stiffed the whole place. But guess what the Santa Fe had? It had a ice skating arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally was built. And who would make that the thing? You know what I'm saying? And then right down the street when Fiesta opened, guess what they opened? Another ice rink, and it's still open. That one at the Fiesta is still there to this day. There's no Fiesta Rancho, but the ice arena is still there. And coming from the East Coast, I was able to, I skate. I'm actually a good skater. I used to play hockey when I was a kid. I was just fantastic. Being in the desert, and I had an ice arena. After work, go to the ice arena. It was like right there. It was fantastic. And we've really embraced this sports. You know, we've embraced the Golden Knights. We've embraced the Allegiant Stadium, and we've embraced all of our minor leagues. Our minor leagues. I still have a 51s hat. Remember them? The minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
So I think the A's, despite the fact that a lot of games, I'm not so encouraged by the owner. I have to say, I'm in the. We'll have to see how that plays out.
They've spent some money this year, David. The A's have spent some money on some big contracts for players.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they're trying to make that.
He opened up the checkbook for sure.
Yeah, because. Well, so we'll see. I mean, I love it. I think that's a great space. Having all sports, so you can whatever sport you love, you can come out here. But it's crazy to me that the Golden Knights have become so. Actually, it's not crazy because I think that demand was always waiting to be there. All right, one other thing, Sandoval, love Sandoval. He's over there at Resorts World right now.
He is.
With Murin, with some really big hitters trying to turn that property around.
A.G. Burnett's over there too, former chairman of the gaming control board. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think the location's challenging. I think at the north end of the strip. I mean, you have the Wynn, but the Wynn is the Wynn. Resorts World's not there yet. There's not a lot of critical mass down there. They should have put the baseball stadium over there, to create some critical mass, but that site didn't win.
Yeah, no, so our store was in Fashion Show, and you can go in there any day of the week. That pedestrian traffic is just. It's just not a thing. Now that they built the Boulevard, there's a show. There's so many other shopping venues. I think that space too is starting to get diluted unless you curate a very bespoke sort of dynamic. But I definitely foot traffic is just not a thing on that end of the strip yet, right? And you go into the Wynn, you stay at the Wynn. You can't. Where else you going?
Why are you going to go anywhere else?
Yeah.
I think also. Resorts World, in terms of an entertainment option, historically, no one ever beat Celine Dion. She was King Kong. She beat everybody. And when she got sick and they weren't able to open with her, it was huge. She's such a game changer in what she brings to the property. You can't replicate that. So that was a big miss. It was totally out of their hands. And I haven't been made aware that she's gonna, do anything there because she's in recovery still.
Yeah, if you want to run down all the misses at Resorts World, dude, that's its own podcast. The garage, that casino garage is number one miss, dude. I just walked it yesterday yet again, and it always amazes me that it's you can get all your steps in just going from the garage to the front door before you ever hit a casino, before slot, food, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's...
I did it in July. It's no good.
No.
I did it in July. Not recommended.
No.
Yeah. All right, well, fantastic. I think, there's always room to be optimistic. So I do feel like, and it's not just talking points, it's a thing. Vegas does very well. We have some really wonderful people. I think in general, we're the best guest experience you can have anywhere on the planet. And I think we have very unique population, where, we like everybody. There's no, that's the great thing about Vegas. That's why it's a very libertarian thing. You don't come to the tables to talk politics here. We're not one side or the other. We're right in the middle, dude. We love everybody from everywhere. Doesn't
Everybody
matter,
buys shoes.
Like, that's the thing.
Like Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, everybody buy sneakers.
Yep. Because I do feel like there's other parts of the world, not necessarily, that's not necessarily a thing. But here, it's a wonderful thing. All right. Looking forward.
Michael, thank you very much. Really added a lot of value today to some difficult topics. Thank you, buddy.
My pleasure. That was fun. I appreciate the invite. It's always fun to talk.
Yeah, we're probably gonna post this. I think we could post it. We're gonna post this live. I think we're gonna have the live version because I could put that up, and we're gonna throw that up on CQ, and then we'll send Jet to. I think we did a great job. I don't even think we have to really edit it down. Of course, it's an hour and 40 minutes, so we'll see what our retention is.
Adjust that Sue Loudon piece, will you?
Oh, really? Poor Sue.
Let me Google this.
But everybody knows this is the reality. This is what we're working with, dude. I mean, it's any of us. Yeah, we're all over 50, dude. Welcome to the over 50 club. Yeah. All right, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. It's another episode of Off the Rails. So if you're looking for the other episodes, it's at cqnexus.com. You can either hit on the blog. There's going to be a page going up, but that we will have that'll feature me and Scott weekly addressing global casino stuff going on. We're going to try to get into the deep and granular stuff. We're going to have some really fantastic guests. We have lots of insight. We're actual gaming professionals. We're not just YouTubers, just so you know. We're not trying to be influencing. We have real information we want to share. And I believe it's going to be a very constructive series going forward. Thank you guys very much. Don't forget, our app is coming, cqnexus.com/CQ app. Definitely check it out. And we'll see you next time. And we are off from the rails. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.